So what is this? What's this?
Fucht.
But it comes out.
Fucht.
Future kit.
Fucht.
I like it.
So this magazine comes out quarterly. It's the art of it's all drawing based. That's a drawing collection.
That's cool as hell.
Fucht the system. It's probably fucked. But yeah, everyone is like really gimmicky with a cool kind of designy cover, but I love it. Anyway, I brought this one first, and it's all just cool essays. And it's like an overview of drawing, I guess. Have you ever seen those vitamin D books about like what's going on in the world of drawing? There's like vitamin D, vitamin P.
I don't think I have.
I have a few of them. Anyway, I got that out.
This is dope. I love that.
Yeah, super cool.
I wonder if this actually scans. Probably not, because they have one right there.
Yeah, sure. So then, anyway, I got that one out because I wanted to talk about this one. Because we were talking about, what were we talking about today? We're talking about art books, monographs, collections of drawings and stuff. And so this one's focused specifically on contemporary drawing in sequential stories. So they put out one that's specifically focused on cartoons. So you look at that because you've never looked at
19 lines. Fucked stories, 19 lines art of narration, contemporary drawing. Yeah, and then it like folds out and it gives you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's like a mad fold-in of typography.
I like that, yeah.
Typography.
There's some nice typography here.
Yeah, every one of these is beautiful. I've only been able to get my hands on these two.
This is dope. Who puts this out?
It's self-published. They're called Fucht Incorporated.
Were they at
Industries.
when we were at the press play? Were they there?
No, I wish.
This seems like something.
That's the only place you can get back issues when they do shows.
Right.
All their shit sells out.
Probably at like New York Art Book Fair.
All right, so I got the first one at Art Book Fair. This one I think I got at Desert Island actually because they were carrying it because it was sequential.
Aww.
Yeah, it was sad news in the world of Desert Island.
As of yesterday.
Hopefully it does not become official.
I hope for the best, whatever form that takes.
Yeah, same.
These are cool. This looks like Jeff or William Test. Are you familiar with them?
I love Jeff Test.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never met him, but his artwork is awesome.
I know of them through Josh.
Yeah.
Josh just put something up like this the other day that was their work, and it reminds me of that. So let's see who this is.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to look at art monographs that are kind of like tangentially comics related.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a funny thing that happens where like cartoonists, like you can't make money in comics. Like that's just a fact.
You can't?
You can't. There's no money to be made in comics unless you're extremely frugal. And I mean, people make a living.
Daniel Cloud.
People make a living doing it, but like in general, it's not I wouldn't say it's an advisable career path.
These are awesome.
But there's so many people who draw in certain ways. Yeah, there's so much great stuff in there.
This is
where they either attract the attention of some kind of fine art world where they get into like a gallery scene, or they attract the attention. Yeah, or they attract the attention of like publishers who collect their work into some sort of other book that's not a comic book. So I thought it'd be fun to look at some of those here. Things that are like collections of drawings by cartoonists.
Okay.
That are almost like repackaged to make it palatable to some kind of like fine art world. And then I assume they're for sale when people do stuff like this. Like the shows that they do in these spaces are for sale, or maybe there's money to be made in the book things, or I don't know.
Perhaps. I wonder what the compensation package is for the artists that do a book like this. I knew I was
This is a major design flaw.
Yeah.
I've done that
right out of my hand.
I've done that like 10 times.
Yeah. It's like, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And the content is fantastic. Like the curation's on point.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I wonder how they compensate the artists. Because that's always a challenge when you're doing an anthology or a group of artists work published together.
I think that came up on our anthology.
So much brilliant work here.
Yeah, that's a meaty one. The thing that piqued my mind for this the most was this Matt Furie book, because I know he's had some success post Boys Club and all of his comics.
Didn't he do some gallery shows? Like I could have sworn I went to Deitch and saw a show.
So that's what this book is. Wow, it's really shiny. So that's what this book is, and you're not going to ever get this on camera, really, truly. But this book is definitely worth tracking down. But I think a lot of this stuff was gallery material. So I think there were shows of this stuff that were, in various different places around the world, and I assume they were for sale.
I remember going to Deitch, and there were like animations playing on top of paintings.
Yeah.
There were like wizards talking, and each part of the room had like a different animation, different cartoon character talking. There was sculpture. There was all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, Furie's the shit. I love this stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's done.
Big dog Furie on Instagram.
It's done with the spirit of like we're saying, like it retains the child, but it is sophisticated. This kind of reminds me of Falcor from
there's tons of pop culture references.
Yeah,
like Terminator.
For sure. Terminator, yeah.
Yeah, it has actually similar to Jeff Test. It has that quality of like, here's a very loose, very quickly put down sketch that I've then rendered the absolute shit out of.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautifully drawn, and I think it's like when you're a kid, you want to draw this well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, and like
it's aspirational. For kids.
You make drawings, and you're like, oh, they're so good. And this has that vibe. Like,
yeah, the kid in middle school whose binder looks like this.
Ugh, brilliant. Let's be
great.
buds.
But Matt Furie's comics are amazing. They're super funny. I mean, he invented, that character we don't need to talk about.
Yeah. Well,
but he's an amazing artist, and I think like this kind of stuff. I don't know how popular this book was. Yeah, it's so funny. It's so weird.
This is great. This is like before and after a lifetime of yoga. What comes out of you?
Yeah, and if you look closely, there's so many levels of rendering on a lot of these.
Yeah, like a lot of different styles
really
at work, right? It's like some alternate universe Gumby.
Yeah,
pulling his hair out.
Yeah, here's like Mad Magazine, Frog.
Alfred E. Newman, right? Kind of like a mix between a frog and a gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of like an amalgam of cool things. And this is interesting because you get like a naturalist drawing of an animal.
Yeah, and I want to see him do a comic like this. I guess he's done some children's books also.
Okay.
But I would love to see this.
We haven't talked about any Furie yet, have we? This is nice.
So.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of Boys Club here if you want to pull it out.
At some point, definitely. I love like just the inventiveness for each character. I want to go back actually a page and check that out. That is so weird. Gumballs coming out of it or something?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so wild.
Yeah, and it's pulling from a lot of different places, but it doesn't feel nostalgia baity.
Right.
It doesn't feel like Funko Pop bullshit.
Right.
Also, there's no time frame for this either, so I don't know if this is like before or after Boys Club or like what. There's probably indie shit somewhere.
Did you see the documentary?
Yeah, Feels Good, Man.
Yeah,
it's
I didn't.
Great.
Is it good?
Oh yeah, it's really good.
I want to check it out
because it's less. I mean, it is about his work, obviously, but it really encapsulates. It tracks basically how that happened.
Sure.
I guess, which a lot of people, and I didn't know all the details myself either, but it's less about his work in general, and it's more about like how the fuck did this panel of a self-published comic book go from like a guy standing behind a table selling these things to people to like one of the most recognizable iconic images in the world.
Unbelievable.
For purposes unintended by the author and the illustrator originally. Like it tracks it in really specific detail and not in a conspiratorial way. Okay. Like it's really just like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and then these people were saying this, and then these people were saying this.
Right, and there's all this like weird mythology behind it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that film is great. It's a really interesting record of how internet shit works, just like how viral stuff spreads in general.
Sure.
That's not the only way for stuff to spread, but it's it takes this particular instance and it also just captures a moment. It's so fucking weird.
And what if you wondered what Freddy Krueger's family looked like?
Yeah.
You know? Great.
And Ronald McDonald's family are all burgers.
And that's like kind of like Michael from it's like
from Michael Donald's.
Michael Donald's. That's it. I can't improve on that. Chainsaw Man before Chainsaw Man.
Oh yeah, proto Chainsaw Man. Yeah, anyway, highly recommend Feels Good, Man.
I always like mouths as eyes. Ever since I saw the Corinthian in Sandman, so disturbing.
I have not read any Sandman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mouths for eyes is fucked up. Oh, here's some comics.
What a great name for a character.
The Corinthian.
The Corinthian. Sounds like something out of the Matrix.
Yeah, it does.
This is great.
Merovingian.
Yeah. This is great because this reminds me of those like head shops from back in the day that have
Yeah.
all this like pointless. And I was like, who
Just
buys that?
nothing patches.
But like, we can bring back the enamel pin case. Like these are all.
You have an enamel. Wait, look, there's an eyeball right there.
There it is. Yeah. There.
Bart Simpson.
I'm telling you.
Wait, but this is interesting too, because like in a contemporary one of these, there would be a pin.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you said his name.
Sorry. Oh wait, there's one right there.
Oh yeah. Look
Pee-pee.
at that.
There's a pee-pee pin.
Pee poo poo. These are rad.
So I don't. It's interesting because Matt hasn't put out that many comics, and I think those comics are legendary. Maybe he was turned off. Beautiful centerfold.
Yeah.
Maybe he was turned off by
Like
the whole
Burt
experience. Or George Costanza, and decided like this is not for me or whatever. But I mean, I assume this is not presented as a sketchbook. Like I think a lot of this was part of some kind of more fine art approach or something. But anyway, this book rules. Also, it has. Do you feel the cover? It's like soft.
Soft.
It's like squishy.
Right. Feels like a Trapper Keeper or something.
Yeah. The whole presentation of this book is really awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. This is dope. You could just spend hours in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. Big Bird's all croaked on the side.
Eviscerated.
That's sick too, actually.
Yeah, the double cross Goro.
Yeah.
Good.
There's a lot of good stuff in here. Holy cow.
Yeah. So I would highly recommend Matt's comics.
Hey, Matt.
Don't let the 4chan losers turn you off.
Hell yeah, good job, Matt.
Also, Fantagraphics. This book is awesome.
Yeah, that book rolls.
Nice attention to detail.
Well done. What else do we got here?
Yeah, I mean, Mobius is...
Who's Mobius?
Mobius is obvious.
Mobius is dope.
Dark Horse Books was going to do the whole library and has been mysteriously sidetracked by a number of reasons. I've heard it's access to rights to the material because of the family,
right?
Which, that's fine.
Rightfully so, they snatch back their rights. I mean, they're putting out books right now. It all comes out of the Mobius library.
But they're not, though. They stopped for a while.
Or I mean, like, no, the family's putting out books.
Right, but this is not the family. This is Dark Horse.
Right.
The family has their own imprint.
Yes,
but they're not putting out books either. They're putting out these little, like, no one's putting out like Arzak. Like, why? Everyone's wondering why there's no. Like,
well, Humanoids put that out, didn't they?
I don't think there's ever been a full Arzak collection, as far as I know.
Yeah, I guess it must just be fighting over rights. I mean, there's probably one issue, the rights are over here, one issue's over there, they can't get it all together.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
We saw that movie. What was that movie called? Because this reminded me of it a little
well,
bit.
he designed all the characters.
Right. Time Masters or something like that.
So this came out as part of the Dark Horse library. They did the World of Edina book that had like snippets of a lot of Mobius stuff, and then they put this out, which is kind of like
this is gorgeous.
It's like a source book or something, and it's like all these characters and stuff in it. Yeah, it's cool.
It does kind of feel like, oh, here's this character. Okay, we're gonna give you a couple paragraphs about this, and then show a couple drawings of it, and then on to the next thing, which it's kind of taking everything out of context. I don't know, but it's a nice like companion, like a guidebook.
This kind of reminds me of that Elves book. But like for Mobius
Mobius, yeah.
Like I almost kind of wish that, I don't wish, but like it would be cool to come across this not knowing that the comics existed and be like, oh wait, is this just the book? Is this the world?
The way we used to get like trading cards, like Marvel trading cards, and then try to piece the world together.
Yeah, totally.
Shouts to Joey.
It does have some content.
This is dope. I mean, this is beautiful.
Heavily painted.
There's so much good stuff in here. Yeah.
And a lot of this is not in the other Edina book.
Rainbow.
So I think the other Edina book tries to keep it narratively like linear. It tries to stitch together the kind of other stuff into one thing that makes sense.
There's Joe right there.
Yeah, that actually does look like Joe. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much Mobius work out there. I think the way the Dark Horse has chosen to present this stuff is really confusing, whether that's the way they wanted to do it, or that's by necessity because that's all that they had. But they did this book, they did the World of Edina book, which is great. That's like a really comprehensive and awesome collection of narrative work. But then they did like the 3 volumes of Inside Mobius, which is like this weird autobiographical thing that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and is like way inside baseball for anybody who would want to just like be starting to get into Mobius. Like you would never look at that on the shelf and be like, oh, I'm interested in this new artist I've never heard of before. You pick that up and be like, what the fuck? What the hell is this? Totally. Whereas like Like, you hook people in with the other shit, with, like, Arzak and Long... What's it called? Long Tomorrow, Airtight Garage, all that stuff.
Blueberry.
Not Long Tomorrow. What is it called? Oh, yeah, Long Tomorrow. And yeah, Blueberry. Like, a lot of the Blueberry stuff has not been translated to English as far as I know. At least not in any kind of easily accessible way. So I don't know what's going on.
So good, the minimal drawing. I mean, I love it. It's like the balance is just right.
Mm-hmm.
It's able to do so much with so little, and it's so poetic.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It always feels lived in. It always feels textured.
Mm-hmm.
It never feels boring.
Look at those rocks. See, you've been drawing a lot of rocks.
I've been drawing a lot of rocks lately.
I think it was Matt Seneca said at one point, every artist's rocks look different. If you want to see an artist's chops, you check out their rocks.
Yeah, you want to see my chops?
Yeah, get your chops.
I'll show you.
Get your chops out. Get your rocks off. Get your chops out.
That's right. Here, let's chop it up. I got a sketchbook right here.
Chop it up. Yeah, hit us with the rocks.
First, I'll show you something really special to me, which is this drawing I did of me and Mike.
Oh yeah. Cop your gear. Cop your drip.
That's right.
Get your comics people drip right now.
But then I did some rocks. So let's see here. We got this one.
Damn, these are so good.
We got this one.
So what's going on with these rocks? What's up with
Well,
these rocks?
I needed some like vistas, some big spreads for the book, because the book I'm working on right now has a character climbing up a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like, well, we need to zoom out and see like some scale. So I'm going to put him like right here, maybe like scaling up this massive thing to give, scale to the climb, give it some reality.
So are you gonna cut collage or like Photoshop collage?
I'm not sure yet. I just wanted to draw the rocks to see if it looked cool, and then I take it from there. And my process is like, basically I just start with a pencil drawing like this, and then when I'm on the train I'll use a brush.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go back in with the nib later to tighten it up and add little details. But what I like about using the brush on the train is the train's moving.
Oh yeah.
So it's almost like inviting a little bit of randomness to the mix.
The vicissitudes of the experience.
Yeah. I think I got one more in here that I'm working on. Oh yeah. There it is. Yeah. So I'm gonna have them on the cliff face. I don't know how big they're gonna be yet, but that's it. Those are my rocks.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome too, and that sense of scale that Mobius has in these landscapes too is so great. Like to mix this up, I think is really important. Like it's hard.
Right.
It's hard as an artist. Like a lot of times, if I would draw this, I would draw them entering, because like you got to show them entering. But to take that extra moment to be like, what are they entering? Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is really valuable. It's a thing that I want to work on more.
Right, and you're saying to scale, like to make this not just look like a person sitting.
Mm-hmm.
That is less interesting of a drawing. When you add that, now all of a sudden you're like, holy cow!
They're bouncing off each other.
It makes that so epic.
Totally.
That's cool.
And he does that a lot that create that person's sense of scale. They create the reader's sense of like how big things are in this world. And
let's tilt this back a little, because we got a lot of glare
sorry.
on the page. Yeah, this is so cool. I love, and his character, like, his character design is always so interesting. Like, the vegetation is a character. The world is a character. The ships are characters.
It somehow doesn't look dated either. Except for this CGI garbage.
Wow, this is something else.
Yeah, this shit is horrible.
Holy cow!
It's interesting to see, but God, like
it's interesting. It's like a mark in time.
I mean, look, they're right next to each other. Like, this is cool. This is not cool.
Good? No.
Not good.
We're always like, where's the line in art between good and bad?
This is art.
This is
not art.
We found it.
What's
it's right here.
That Miyazaki scene in that documentary where they're talking about the CGI thing? And
AI.
They're like, we think that computers could draw the way humans could sometime. And he's just like, puts his face in his hands.
He's like, I never want to introduce any of that into my work.
Yeah.
Good for him.
It's great. Actually, now I'm looking at this, I think some of this stuff has had a bigger impact on my work than I think I was even aware of. Like the verge escapement backgrounds, the density
for sure.
of the foliage, and how like these are not maybe real trees, but inspired by real trees.
Pull that verge real quick so we can put it up next to each other.
Hold the verge.
Hold the verge. I want to see it, because I agree with you. And we, having just read that work all in sequence for Comics Club, I was just shocked at how much I loved it.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, hell
this
yeah.
Stuff.
That's so cool. But it's still your own style.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking of this. I would admit it if I was, but I wasn't thinking of this
Right.
specifically. But there's so much Mobius imprinted on my brain that it's possible that this made its way in there. And I bet actually too, now that I think about it, this guy and his like weird like
his ear udders,
udder hat thing or whatever is maybe like a Mobius kind of thing too, of like those guys who, or maybe like a Nausicaa thing. It's like they have the stuff,
mask.
those masks that like hang off their face.
Yeah. Well, I think you see enough of it, and it starts to become part of that soup.
Yeah.
That you draw from when you're thinking of when you let your mind wander into the space that is like sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, I had this experience with Mobius.
Very cool.
I don't totally know how to articulate, but it's like, it was like in the early 2000s, there was a Tumblr page dedicated to Mobius. I don't remember what the title was called. I'll try to look it up. But like every illustrator I know found that Tumblr page all at the same time and like went and like shit their pants over it. They're like, what is this, all this stuff? But a lot of people I talked to had the same experience of like, I feel like I've seen this before,
right?
Even though I'm pretty sure I haven't. But there's a familiarity to this work where it's just kind of like in the ether. Like Mobius's stuff is in everything. It's in the movies we've seen.
Yeah,
we may have flipped through it at a comic shop in another country or something.
And like, even the mark making goes on to influence so many people. Like when I'm looking at something like this, I see, Tintin, I see Hergé, this type of thing. And then we flip back even a page and we know artists that draw like this now,
totally.
Like, so it's
even just having not, that's not just a straight line, it's a straight line that curves slightly out at the end. So that there's a divot between
little
the spaces.
notches.
There's just a tiny, this is not just a line, it's a space between those pieces. Just like those tiny little
bring
bits.
That up to the camera
makes
to
such
show
a
exactly
difference.
what we're talking about. Yeah, it's right. It's that little tiny,
over here too.
That little divot gives it just a little bit.
But yeah, it's like here. There's like it's rounded just slightly.
Yeah,
those tiny little bits. So it's
that makes such a difference, and that's the magic of that minimalist kind of cartooning that we talk about, where we're like, how does he capture that? And it's like, look at that little overhang right there tells you it's two separate pieces.
Yeah.
And it's not something you would think about intuitively.
Right.
Or maybe you do think of it intuitively, but it's not something you would like. All these lines are not straight, right, and that's just something you have to learn to unlearn, I guess. It's like you get your straight lines down and then you're like, this sucks.
Right, but then you see Mobius do it once and you're like, I'm doing it this way forever.
Yeah.
Like you can tell this is 1 point perspective. Like he sketched it out with correct perspective, unless he's just a mega genius and was winging it. But like this to me looks like it was ruled out, but then inked without the ruler, which gives it that more lived-in quality. And look, you don't have to draw all the stones, just draw some of the stones.
Suggest the stones. The mind fills in the blanks.
So good.
This is nice too, a little garden patch or like an old piece of a house.
Or a graveyard or something. There's just so much to look at in this stuff.
I just saw these like cabbages.
Yeah. So Mobius is someone who's exhibited work. Oh, that's what I was gonna say earlier too. There's another brand of this fine art world thing where it's like, you don't do work for the gallery, they show your pages in a gallery. Because you're now a notable figure in the world of comics or in the world of something else.
Yeah. So we're talking about this. We're talking about showing in a gallery, and we're talking about money made in comics, or like, which brings me to this idea that I wanted to talk about, which is success, right? Like, how do you define success as an artist? Like,
me personally, or
I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I mean, I know that I personally feel like if I have the time, because time is such a valuable commodity. If I have the time and I'm healthy enough and have the energy and I have the resources to make art, to me that's success. Like, I'm successful when I make the work in the way that I want to make it. If I'm able-bodied, that's success, right? Because I was thinking about this and it's like, what is my goal? My goal is not necessarily to have art shows. That's not what's going to do it for me.
And I didn't mean to bring this up as a way of like, look at how far these cartoonists have come.
Oh, I didn't think you were.
Yeah,
I've just been thinking about this because I was talking to somebody at one of the shows. So we've been on the road, right? We've been going from show to show. And we have a lot of experiences where like people will come up to us and be like, well, they looked at all my books and then they just left and they didn't buy anything. And you and I both look at each other and go, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, you want people to interact with your work. That's the point of the show.
Completely.
They're paying you a great compliment by stopping and looking at your books. That's a success. So what I'm saying is, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. What you perceive as a failure or something that's unsuccessful is actually a success. You need to change your perspective, I think.
Right. Well, because there's just so much focus, especially in comics, because there's no money to be made. I think a lot of artists are trying to squeeze every possible dollar out of the experience, and to me, that's just the wrong way to go into any creative endeavor. I know that's easier said than done because I have a different job and it's not my career, but like, I don't know. I totally agree. I think sharing the experience of having a stranger walk up to your table, spend time looking at your stuff, and be like, this is really cool, man. You know, there's that common cartoonist joke it shows is like, do you have a business card? But like, whatever, that just means they like it. You know, like, that's cool.
Another thing that what made me think about this is that, we're talking about artists that have pierced through the veil, and...
Or a veil.
Or a veil, yeah. And, I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh, you should check out this, like, this podcast or whatever, or this YouTube channel, I'm like, they talk about comics. It's really exciting. And they were like, I don't want to look at anybody's comics who's more successful than me. And I was like, what? And I go, well, it's not about that, really. They just, like, talk about what's exciting to them. And, like, it's actually really great. You can learn a lot. And he goes, no. I don't want to hear anybody talk about somebody's comics that are more successful than mine. And I go, well, that's where your work. That's where your work begins.
Deep and dark. Yeah.
I was like, what? So to them, they're evaluating everyone's work and being like, oh, they're more successful than me. I don't want to interact with that. What is that?
Right.
So I think we've missed the thread a little bit. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, what if this is all you get? Like, what if you're making your work is all you get? Mm-hmm. Like, shouldn't that be enough?
Well, that's the ultimate question, I guess. You have to find satisfaction and joy in what you're making first. If other people take note of it, that's a bonus.
Yeah. I look at that, like, when we're at the tables, we're having fun. Like, we're sitting there, we're having a good time, and people are sour, and they're like, this sucks, this show sucks, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
some shows do suck.
I'm having a great time. I know, but I'm just like, but why would you focus on that?
I agree, yeah.
I just think that, like, we could all do with a little bit of a perspective shift, because when we were on our way back from SPX and we were stuck on the train for 12 hours, I mean, I didn't get home till 4 a.m. because Amtrak blows.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But instead of getting upset, I just made a book. And now that book's almost done. Yeah. Like, I'm going to send that to the printer tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, channel that energy elsewhere.
You can just transmute it into something else, I guess. I've been tthinking about it a lot.
No, I mean, I think that's great. And that's a great topic for this, too, because... I personally, I have no interest in like the Chelsea gallery world at all. If somebody was like, hey, Mike, we really like your work, we want to put some of your original pages up on the wall and sell them, I would probably say yes. I'm not, like, so staunchly against it that I would turn it down. Not to make the money or whatever, just to be like, oh, it's cool, you like my work, you want people to see it, like, that'd be cool. Can I sell comics at the show? Sounds good.
I'm gonna be outside selling comics.
Yeah, but that to me doesn't represent success at all. It's not notoriety at all. It's really just like, it is that feeling of someone walking up to your table, someone you don't know, walking up to your books and being like, wow, these are cool. That's the best feeling. Yeah. Like, if someone walks up to the table, says nothing, and is like, how much is this? And they buy something, that's great, fine. But, like, I don't want to say I'd prefer the compliment, but, like, I want to talk about the work and engage with it more so than I want to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, creating the community is really important. When we were at Pictou Beach, that person came up and said, my wife's a therapist and we use your books as, like, a therapy tool. Like, that's
success.
That to me is success.
Totally.
Like, interacting with the kids and teaching them how to make comics, that's success. I've been thinking a lot about it lately, because when I was younger, I thought success was measured by the same way that they measured on television. That was my only access to the outside world.
What?
Well, on TV, they're constantly perpetuating this lifestyle of, like, the celebrity as, like, a goal, right?
Right.
But
the
it's
more
not
people that
real.
know you.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a real thing. Instead, like, being well-known in your community for being someone who contributes to that community, I think is much more important.
Yeah. Well, it also becomes, like, bait. Like, I think about this in the entertainment industry all the time. Like, the number of people whose names you know in movies is... I don't know, 2% of the people who are auditioning for roles all the time. Like, the movie industry is kind of a pyramid scheme. Like, they promise you this possibility of fame and success, which the tiniest fraction of the people involved in it get to, right? And then the entire rest of the industry is... you have to get your headshots taken, which costs you $1,000.
Yeah,
you have to go to acting school, which costs you $10,000. You have to get a master's degree. You have to get you have to have a website. You have to buy all this filming equipment now to do your auditions at home. Like, the industry is Like, it's a crock. Like,
Right.
it's giving you this possible opportunity, dangling this thing in front of you that's not going to happen, most likely.
It's like capitalism.
But it is. People are spending enormous amounts of their own money to participate in this rigged game, which is all full of just, like, other actors' kids anyway.
Right.
And, like, that's a lot of industries. And so you can't determine your success based on whether you got the part. You know, your success has to be like, did I put my all into that audition?
Right. Or did I make the best work I could make?
Right.
That's
and that gets back to comics. It's
it's
like, did I do my best, basically? And if you feel good about doing your best, that to me is success.
And people talk about the money in comics or the lack thereof, and I think that inoculates comics against the kind of people who would come out like they do for Hollywood interest, right? It's like that's the difference between, I often say the difference between New York and LA. It's like a lot of people go to LA to be famous, right? Everyone's chasing the same carrot. In New York, it seems like people go to specialize in their weird interest. So like whatever it is they're interested in, they go to New York to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm painting with a broad brush, obviously.
Sure.
But we're trying to fit it all in.
I came to New York because I didn't want to drive a car.
Yes, that was one of the reasons why. Same. That was one of the reasons why I came too. I was like, I don't want to own a car.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I do, and I hate it.
Yeah.
But,
so, and there's also a level of gatekeeping too, like who gets a book, who gets a show, who gets a whatever. Like, if your level of success is based on someone else's feelings,
right?
How do you know if that's even about you at all? It could be like how they're feeling on that given day, or like if
or
they're
it could
trying
be
to
like
impress their boss's
exploiting
taste or
a taste of the month or whatever.
Totally.
What is this book about, though?
This is about this guy Savage Pencil. He's English.
Okay.
Here, you can flip through this if you want.
It looked like a mixture of cartooning and like Xerox art.
And this is like a retrospective on his work. He's done a lot of album covers, a lot of punk and like metal
Really cool
stuff.
Really wild like line.
Yeah. And this book
Really
makes me want to
intense.
draw. This is one of those things you pick up and it's like, damn, I gotta go scratch some shit out.
Bayer would like this, I bet.
Yeah, so I actually thought of this when Nate Doyle was here with that punk posters.
Oh yeah,
book.
yeah.
And I was like, that was part of why I wanted to do this episode of like that's a book I never would have thought of. I mean, I've never heard of that book before, that Nate's book, but that was like, this is relevant to what we're doing. Like all this stuff is in the same ballpark. Totally.
Who is this?
Have you ever looked at this book?
No.
This book is a treasure trove. So this is Geneviève Castrée, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, who has passed away.
Works. Young
They
too.
passed away very young. This is everything they made
Whoa.
in this book, which is a ridiculous object, but it's also really powerful, I think, to hold something like this. I'm gonna skip to the end real quick because I think this is like a really like, it's not a spoiler, it's not a narrative book, but like this is her desk. One of these I think it's this one. Oh, her desk as she left it. So this is like, I mean, just like a really tremendous, potent, powerful image. But yeah, like a fascinating artist. I just think this is an incredible way to capture one person's life, I guess. It's one object. Like you can't contain a single person to an object, but this is all of their artwork, their album covers. There's like full reproductions of her books in there, like the books she published. They're in their entirety.
Oh, wow.
I really love the way she draws. And there's some writing in there. The guy Phil Elverum from the Microphones, you know that band?
I don't.
I'm
pretty bad at remembering.
He was her partner.
I'm pretty bad at remembering bands.
But just seems like an overall fascinating, strange, interesting artist, musician. I don't know, performer, artist.
Making
polymath.
making music live scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, same. We should do it though.
Playing music to a crowd, yeah, we should.
I'd say that's on my bucket list. Playing live music to a crowd, even if it's a crowd on the street.
I was gonna say, you can see the Julie Doucet influence,
but then it kind of dissolves away.
Sure,
it's cool to see this on one thing.
The only reason I mention it because it gives me like a touchstone to see what they were looking at. It's not important for me to like qualify or quantify the work in that way. I just mention it because it's like I said, it's a touchstone, and I think everyone does that. And then you're right, it dissolves. It like becomes internalized or something, and becomes part of the thing, and it just kind of like fades away, and it leaves like an impression as as they emerge, and that's fascinating to me. I love that. So
That's also
much.
just what our brains do naturally anyway.
Yeah.
We have to compartmentalize things in order to make sense of like
Right.
the infinite strangeness of the world.
Totally.
So we have to be able to be like, this is like this, and this is like this, and
That's
this
well
is like
said.
that, and this
Yeah.
person's like that, and that
We have to make connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think of it too. It's like humanity is just this giant tapestry. We're all kind of weaving together. So you find a spot that interests you and you pick up where the last person left off. And you just keep weaving it. And it's like, it's not important. You are not important necessarily. It's the work that you do that contributes to the whole that's important. And that kind of has helped me, you know. That reminds me, when we were in SPX, there was another character who was like, they won't let me in these shows. I'm so pissed. They won't let me in. I try and try and try, and nobody lets me in the shows. And I go, my response was just like, well, what are you doing for other people? Like, as soon as I stopped caring about myself and started to look after others, like to be of service to others, that's when my world opened up.
Yeah, there's also sometimes just no rhyme or reason to it. Like you don't know why you don't get in. It's not because you're not good enough. It's just like
Right.
they just say yes or no. It's not dissimilar from auditioning. It's
Totally.
like you audition for a TV show. Either you get the part, 1 out of 1,000 people gets the part. Everyone else gets no response.
100%.
It's not like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
we really liked your audition tape. We love the
100%.
way you did this. Your emotions were great, but you know what? We just went with
Totally.
someone else. You get nothing.
Yeah.
And the same way with this, you apply to comic shows all the time, and they say like, we waitlisted you, or
It's not
or we
personal.
denied you.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's not a meritocracy.
Totally.
Like, who the fuck knows? But you just have
And
to
also
keep,
just like
keep doing
make
it.
more stuff, and then just
Yeah, just
you
keep
have
doing
time
it.
to make stuff.
Go
You know,
outside.
it's not cheap to travel around and spend all your money traveling to and fro.
Sure, but like go to a park, go
That's
set
right.
up a table, like do
Draw
the-
some trees.
Be like Ashton and Juliet and go.
Well,
set
I
up
think
a
about that
table.
every day. Like New York is a giant con. You can just set up a table anywhere.
New York
in
is
New
a
York.
giant con in every sense of the word.
These are beautiful, and I definitely see like the aughts, like the like influence of the early like 2000s street art movement that was like both kind of myopic, like it was a lot of desk work, a lot of cartoon stuff, but then it kind of like traversed this line where it was also fine art. Like there was a lot of fine art shows at that time that were
I mean, the crossover between street art and like graffiti and skateboard art and stuff is also a really interesting nexus. It's like it's almost like the gallery world kind of like it's a double-edged sword. You know, it props people up and it gets people opportunities, but it also commodifies things and sucks them into their vortex of money.
Do you remember Fecal Face?
Yeah,
totally.
hell yeah. I used to go to Fecal Face all the time.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
probably covered your shit.
They published one of my drawings, actually. I sent in a drawing and they published it. And then I saw a similar... Did you ever watch Adventure Time?
Oh, yeah. I show Adventure Time to the kids all the time now. They love
Remember
it.
the knife rain?
Yeah.
I did a drawing of that years before that
really?
and sent it into Fecal Face of a character holding an umbrella and it raining knives.
That's funny.
And like, I don't know if it was directly inspired that or whatever, but I feel like in my own mind, I was like, oh, I have my own little idea that made it into Adventure Time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's true or false.
I show, whenever we're cleaning up in class, I've discovered that if I put something on the TV, it's always like we clean up our supplies and then we go hang out on the rug for a couple minutes and like do a download of what we just did.
This is great.
And yeah, this book's amazing. And then I found that they can't just sit on the rug; they just fuck around unless
Yeah,
I put
right.
something on the TV that they can watch, so they can focus on something. So I try to make it related to what we're doing.
Oh, cool.
But if I can't find anything that's like directly related to what we're doing, I'll put Adventure Time on. Because there's almost always something. It's like, look at these two are fighting. Are they solving the problem? No, they're just fighting.
Right.
These two over here are talking about the problem and they're solving their different. You know, there's always some way in. But they fucking love Adventure Time, and I'm surprised by how few of them are familiar with it.
Yeah, Adventure Time is fantastic, and I find a lot of people dismiss cartoons. Like, I know my friend's wife is like, oh yeah, I don't watch cartoons. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, at all? Oh yeah, I don't watch cartoons because they're for kids. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you're a professor. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm like, are you actually serious right now? And she's like, yeah, they're for kids. And I was like, oh my God.
I don't watch a lot of them anymore, but
Well, I mean,
I don't rule it out as.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't rule out a whole medium because I've only seen Looney Tunes or whatever the fuck, you know? It's like, come on.
Looney Tunes also pretty good.
Also for adults. I'm just saying,
Also,
like,
also full of like I've tried to show
there's
some
tons of
those to
adult
kids.
humor.
You got to be careful with those Merry Melodies because
yeah,
they are
yeah.
riddled with racial stereotypes.
Of course. Yeah, I don't even mess with it. Oh, speaking of which, I got a book, a 1933 book on how to make cartoons I got to show you.
Yeah.
I almost brought it. Let's do an episode on how-to books.
Yes,
But we'll do that at mine because I
You
have
have all of them.
400 of them.
Yeah. And we should how to them. We should how do them.
Yes, and whatever you're saying. I like these clouds. These are dope.
Yeah. So this book, I guess, is a little different because it's like posthumous, retrospective. This is not like, hey, this person's an artist now, so they get a book. It was more like, let's try to represent this person. And
pretty amazing. I mean, so young.
Yeah.
It's wild that it says here, right? What is that? 35.
Yeah.
That's a baby.
I mean, that picture in the back gets me every time. It's just like,
yeah.
What does your drawing table look like when you go?
Oh my god.
If you go unexpectedly.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's brutal. But also look at this body of work; it's amazing.
Really
and, like,
impressive.
the impact that she had on so many people.
Music,
the music especially. I actually want to make sure I go. Every time I look at this book, I'm like, oh, I should go listen to her music, and then I get wrapped up in the artwork and I forget.
Sure.
But I'm really interested in what the music sounds like.
I didn't even know this person existed, so this is awesome.
They only put out, I think, 2 books, like 2 specific comic works.
And are they French speaking?
Yeah, they're
okay.
Canadian.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, we just met some really cool
Canadians.
Yeah, some French Canadians over the weekend. They're great. Shouts to Luke and Francois. We talked a lot through this book, and the way that this book ends is really something. So I'm gonna have to sit with this in a real way and read it more intently.
And I think about this all the time too, about like, what is the book of my life? Or like, what is the book of my life going to be? Like, is it even this big? Does it matter?
Will they even make a book of? That's what I think about. I have like mountains of sketchbooks in my studio that are just like sitting there on the shelf, mountains. And I'm like, will anyone collect this?
Yeah, what is all
if
this
I
shit?
Don't, if I don't collect it and publish it, will anyone else? I don't know if that's, I don't know if they will.
I don't know.
But what a wonderful testament to what seems like a very lovely artist in person, and what a sad story.
Yeah, it really is. And shouts to Drawn and Quarterly for taking this on. I don't want to sound like an ass kiss or anything, but like this is an audacious publishing project.
Yeah,
like,
this is a huge undertaking.
It's a massive book. Like, I don't know how many of these they sold, but like to take this on and put this out into the world is like a special treat.
It is really wonderful. I mean, what a labor of love.
Yeah, and it's just beautifully made. Also, you can tell it like the signature all stitched. You got the little extra headband here. Like all the details of that is really lovely.
What a great book.
Testament to this person.
Yeah, what a beautiful book. Let's talk about a couple more.
Yeah,
I see Calvin peeking out.
Yeah,
here.
let's get it. Let's go. Let's brighten it up a little bit.
We'll lighten up the tone.
So we went to the Billy Ireland Museum.
Shouts to Billy Ireland
last weekend for Cartoonist Crossroads, which was really fun.
What a great show.
I had never been there before. There's a lot of Columbusness out there.
Today we were actually supposed to be recording with Josh Bayer, who we will record with in some future time.
But I got a cold, so
Mikey,
I'm just going to get Nick sick
cold.
instead of all 3 of us.
Yeah.
But it was this I thought was interesting because I bought this a long time ago. This is an exhibition catalog, so this is a collection of the pages that were in a gallery setting.
We saw this page,
and we were able to see. Did we see this?
Yeah,
page?
this is the watercolor they showed us.
I thought I thought they were in a tree in that one.
Oh, maybe I forget.
Yeah. But we got to see some of these original pages.
See originals.
To me, I mean, looking at the final strip, looking at the original artwork for the final strip was like. This was like a profound experience for me.
Yeah.
Like, this was a moving, emotional experience. And this is a nice reproduction.
But you can't see all the whiteout.
Yeah, you can't see all the stuff. So it's still cool. This is a great book because they have the side by side with the reproduction.
But it's not the same.
But looking at the page, man.
You can see the way the brush moves on that page.
Yeah, for sure.
It's unbelievable. Watterson's had such a profound influence on me in ways that I didn't even realize.
Oh, same. I'm pretty due to do some rereads of some of those books. I mean, I tend to just pick them up and read them for 5 minutes and put them back.
That's the way it is. I mean,
I kind of want to just dig in just to kind of confront the influence a little bit.
I mean, imagine in a time when you could actually put out newspaper strips and like have something come out every week and people would wait for them.
Yeah, people gave a shit about them.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff is just wonderful.
I use this at school all the time. I do a project on foreground, middle ground, and background, and I use Calvin and Hobbes watercolors.
Yeah, me too.
You do?
I do, yeah. I say draw one tree from the top to the bottom, then go over to the other side, start in the middle, and draw that tree up to the top. And then I go, and now we're going to create this path through the middle.
Oh, that's funny.
And I do the same thing, yeah. And we'll throw a rock in there or something.
Yeah, sure. And you can do it with anything. You'd be like, draw something blocking something, or draw something, put your pencil on the edge and then like start it and stop it. And It's a great, but he just does such a great job of mixing that up. So do we think, like, manga is hugely read in Japan. Do we think newspaper comics are as wide as just comics have gotten?
In Japan?
No, in America. Do we think, are newspaper comics, like, this era and before, the widest reach of comics that America ever had?
Probably. Yeah. This being the last bastion.
This being the
it.
end, yeah. I mean, there's like the
right, because it doesn't
and
even
all that
exist
stuff.
anymore. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, like this.
Yes, I would say
prior
so.
to this.
I think your most far-reaching cartoons or in this type of this type of cartooning, not animated cartoons. I think that would be the farthest reach. Yeah.
And maybe widest audience. I mean, like people like those Image comics were selling millions of copies, but you don't go to your dad's office and people don't have Image comics tapped up on their doors.
You have one right here behind this
the way
camera.
they do with Far Sides and
right.
fucking famous circles.
Nobody was doing like rip a day calendars of Image comics.
Cyberforce.
Cyberforce. Yeah.
Oh man, let's do that.
Of Troll.
What does Captain Stryker have to say on July 9th?
That's right. Youngblood daily calendar.
Can you
what does Kirby have to say?
Could you even pull 365 days of content from that? I don't know.
I mean, with that though, remember there were a lot of speculators buying like hundreds of thousands of copies, being like, "This is Superman #1" or whatever.
Sure.
This is Action Comics, whatever. I don't know which one. I don't have the numbers memorized, but you know what I'm saying.
This is one of my favorite ones. He says in the description here, like, my hope was that I drew this well enough that somebody thought that they had replaced Calvin and Hobbes with a different strip. Which you can still see
really
his
good.
hand in
Yeah,
it, but
you
like
can.
it's so fun to watch.
His faces are like kind of rounded, like he has rounded features, but
it's like not
but
quite...
it is still amazingly good.
Oh, it's great, but it
does look like a new.
It's not. You would never mistake that for like Al Williamson.
When I saw comics like this though, as a kid, like not Calvin and Hobbes, but like whatever that was, like those like
High and Low, not High and Lois.
There was a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, fuck.
I can't. I would block them.
There was one in the Washington Post, and I was just like, not interested.
I was always just like, this sucks. What is this?
Why would anybody want to look at this? It looked like the same strip every day. Like,
right? Yeah.
It looked like they could have just swapped out the words.
Totally.
Like who wants to draw that? Who wants to read it? Fuck that.
I was always like, fuck that.
Although I did like looking at Prince Valiant, although I never read it.
Well, sure. I mean, it looks cool.
I mean, look at this transition. Is so like this is a whole comic strip right here. There's these two panels. So awesome. And I know he had to do that as like the throwaway gag so they could reshuffle around the panels if they needed to for space. But like, still funny. Like just making the most of it. You know, he fought hard against that, but like when he had to do it, he didn't just fuck around. Like he did it for real.
I love that there's no Calvin and Hobbes merch out there.
I mean, that's the best part.
I have a Calvin and Hobbes shirt though.
You got a bootleg?
I think so.
Is it Calvin peeing on Al Qaeda?
No, it's Calvin and Hobbes dancing, and it says.
Fuck Al Qaeda.
No, it says like it says Washington D.C. It says Calvin and Hobbes, Washington D.C. And then it says, God put me on this planet to do certain things, which I've procrastinated, so now I'll never die, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
We'll put it in the video. I'll send you a picture.
When my friends went to university,
that's sick.
When my friends went to University of Maryland for one, I think it was either a football game. Must have been a football game. They were giving away shirts, and on the front it said, "Fuck Duke," and on the back it said, "and Bin Laden." I wish if anybody out there still has one of those shirts, please send it to us.
That's definitely a moment in time.
Yeah, it's a moment in time. Fuck Duke University first.
Yes.
Second, Osama bin Laden, mastermind of 9/11.
There always has to be some mythological enemy to hate. That's what makes the wheels turn.
I should say, and the CIA on the back. Anyway, so
that was Mike talking.
Franco. But yeah, so this is, you know, I like that Bill Watterson allows his work to be exhibited, and so much of it is, I don't know if all of it is at the Billy Ireland, but much of it is there.
He gave it all there.
Shout out to Billy Ireland. If you want to go, if you're a Calvin Hobbes fan, like, it's worth the trip to Columbus just to experience this shit. And we only saw maybe 10 pages.
Tell Caitlin that the comics people say hello.
Yeah, but like I was, you know, inches away from that final strip, which I've also had hanging on my wall since it.
Oh yeah,
it was in the paper. I have that Washington Post still, and it's just very moving. I was expecting it to be like, wow, that's amazing, but I had like a physical, emotional experience with it, and that was That was
That's what's
unexpected and really beautiful.
Your mustache that you shaved off just yesterday, I have that hanging on my wall. So.
I look like Calvin's dad. Wait, does he have a mustache? No, he doesn't have a mustache. Bill Watterson in real life has a mustache.
Yeah.
And sometimes I imagine the dad has a mustache.
Every time I see like a drawing of Noah Van Sciver or Evan Salazar or
Evan Salad Bar,
I'm always like, is that Bill Watterson? I'm like, oh no, is that Evan? No, that's
especially
Noah.
Evan, because like Evan's all tatted up. So like I like the idea that Bill Watterson spent his retirement getting like inked up from head to toe.
Hell yeah! Shouts to Salad Bar. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, that was really fun hanging out in Columbus.
It was fun. I had a good time in Columbus. Everyone in Columbus is really warm. We all come together in that place, and it's like pretty special.
Yeah, it was nice. Probably good enough time to wrap it up. Or
I think so. I mean, I was like James Jean.
This is a James Jean book. I like this. He's not really a comics guy. I mean, I guess he did a lot of comics covers. I don't know if he's ever actually done any comics, any panel.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Maybe in one of those Meat House books.
Maybe.
Correct us if we're wrong.
I remember someone being like, yeah, James uses this special kind of pen. You can email him and ask him about it.
They don't make it anymore.
So I did email him and ask him. And it was just like a regular ballpoint pen.
It's this pen.
I had a billion of them.
Yeah, they don't make them anymore. But yeah, it's just a basic ballpoint pen. I'll give you a picture of it. Yeah, it's this one. The SKB. This is in the back of one of those books.
Yeah.
It's this pen here. But sometimes you can buy them on eBay.
I have some still in my box.
But that's a classic, like, this is another James Jean book. This is a classic, like, if I just had the pen.
Yeah.
Then
The
I
pen
could draw.
doesn't. Yeah, spoiler alert, the pen doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just so anybody knows. Oh, you have Paul Pope here?
This is being, I don't know if this is being
hell
republished
yeah.
or if they're publishing volume 2, but
there's something
this
just,
book is fucking awesome.
There's just something so lively about right to the gash. All right,
Yeah,
so
there's like a section of like erotic stuff.
yeah. There's just something so alive about his line, and
this is published by Ad House. Shout out Chris Pitzer. Who we also saw last
Chris
weekend.
is a G. I love Chris Pitzer.
I got this autographed I bought this from Paul himself at Mocha in the year it came out, whenever that was. See, for Mike. 2000. Wait, doesn't it say 2007?
For Mikey.
Unintelligible
scribble.
Yeah.
Mocha 2007. That is legit.
That was when it was at before the Armory building. It was at the Cooper Hewitt. Down by Astor Place.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh yeah.
But this book is sick, and I actually think I think a lot of people probably think Paul Pope's writing is like sort of obnoxious. I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but I like his essays. I think he's like an interesting writer. I think he speaks with a lot of confidence, which I think is off-putting to some people, but I think there's a lot of writing in this book that I find really fascinating. And he talks a lot about his kind of research for going into these things, and also just these like just weird New York experiences he's had, and kind of like, I don't know, I really enjoy kind of the way he writes about his own work, and I can see that coming across as sort of ostentatious or something. But
I don't know. I don't want to get lost in the I don't want to get lost in the personality when I enjoy the work so much.
Yeah,
and like
it's tough though when the personality is on the page.
Yeah,
like, there's a bunch of essays in this book.
No, totally.
And like these THB books have all kinds of writing in them too.
I'm
a fan. I like that stuff.
This is wonderful. Like the liveliness of the brush and the feeling with which the marks are made, it comes through on the page, which is rare. And I think to do it in a way that also has enough accuracy, it's like abstract enough.
It's not slop.
But it doesn't get lost. Like it's still clear and it communicates really well. And there's a lot of action, a lot of energy on the page. I'll say that.
I think one of the biggest, something I figured out, I was looking at a lot of his work when I was starting ATP, because I wanted to do it all brush, which I did, but I don't feel like my drawing has the energy of this, because I'm still being really cautious with the brush. I'm excited for the time when it like loosens up a little bit, because I'm way more confident.
Yeah.
But I mean, this dude was also just cranking shit out. Like he was so prolific, and I kind of think that's the secret. Once you get a handle of the tool, the confidence what is it? It's like first you get good, then you get fast, then you get good and fast.
Sure. Like that. That makes sense. But no, I agree. When I'm looking at the old guys, right? Like I'm looking at the EC guys, I'm looking at like Harvey Kurtzman or whomever, right? I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Part of this is just they're just moving at such a clip that these marks are going down. They seemingly effortless.
So smooth, yeah.
And they just lock in. And like
It's also enormous. He works some of these pages are
Right.
gigantic. They're like 18 by 24.
Yeah,
and so when you
yeah,
reduce
that's
them,
helpful, yeah.
when you reduce them, every
Oh my God,
variation is gone.
I try to get all the kids to work bigger. They're all working the size of a thumbnail, and I'm like, dude, draw your drawing big so that you can put details in.
But yeah, like this stuff, all these little essays. I think this book is worth tracking down for the art because it's amazing. But I like these little writings. I think they're cool.
Well, maybe
And I kind of think more,
maybe Chris has got a couple copies of these hanging around.
Well, they're republishing. There's another one of these coming out soon.
I like this too.
And it's I didn't
like
realize
a
this.
Franz
I didn't realize
Klemmer.
this was his face until I had this for like 2 years.
Sure.
I don't know if they're republishing this one or if they're doing the second one. It's unclear, but there's another one coming out. But I kind of think I like books and I like writers and I like artists who write about their own work. Like Hanselman's books now have like 8 or 10 pages in the back of just like him talking about stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
you
I
get to
love
know
that
the
shit.
artist, and that helps the enjoyment of the work. It's
Yeah.
like when you see an artist read, like hearing someone read their comic in their own voice is so informative to my experience of the work. It helps me immensely. Like when I saw Josh Pettinger read his book, or even Kate Beaton when she was reading at the Wexner, it's like that.
I would not have gone to that if you hadn't just gotten tickets and people because like that's not something that appeals to me, but I'm really glad we did because I thought that was really cool and
There's
interesting.
just like everyone has something that they can impart, that I think is valuable, and it's different for everybody. You know, like Francois, listening to Art Spiegelman and Francois talk, it felt like it was really kind of like there were a lot of barriers put up in that discussion. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was Francois was talking about the type of razor blades that they used to do
to do rain and
like the
stuff
stippling, the white stippling effect, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what I'm missing. So there's always like a little piece of the puzzle that locks in, which I think is useful.
Yeah, and
Plus, when you get there on Friday for CXC, that's what you do. You just go to the talk.
I wish more shows did like Friday nights. The programming. I know CXC had panels during the day too, but
Yeah, they all kinds
it
of
was
panels.
nice to have speakers that we could actually go to without
100%.
having to abandon your table for an hour. Or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Like it'd be nice if there was like one day of panels and one day.
It's a shame our
selling or something like
plane
that.
got rescheduled and we had to leave earlier than we wanted, but next time we should hang out for the after party.
I'm down. Yeah, I thought it was weird that the after party was on Sunday, but whatever.
Yeah, that's all good. I mean, look at this cool drawing of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, my upstairs neighbor did this. I was like, they didn't
that's
he
awesome.
didn't like it. He was like, I fucked up Sonic and like I smudged it, whatever. And I was like,
No,
this
it's
is
perfect.
instant paper rodeo drawing.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
so
amazing. The quality of this is exactly what I want.
Can we have him on the show?
I possibly.
We'll
I mean,
sit down and draw with him.
We talked about his comics on the.
Well, that
Naive-
hasn't aired yet.
Well, maybe by the time this has aired, that will have aired.
We're in a liminal space.
We can pretend it's already aired.
It's fake time.
But I was just like this drawing he did in 5 seconds with a uniball
So
pen on
cool.
this piece of
Love
scrap.
it.
I was like, this is the quality of shit I'm always looking for.
That's what I'm saying. That's
It's
the
just
kid.
so-
The kids have direct connection to consciousness,
So raw.
and because the bones in their hands haven't completely connected yet, they have like rudimentary motor skills, and the combination of those things and the like unabashed bravery
yeah.
to just commit marks to
Amazing.
paper.
It's magic.
Hell yeah, that's the secret sauce. All right, we could talk about this forever, but we're not going to.
Yeah. Anyway, don't aspire to be a gallery artist. Just do your own thing.
Just make comics. Make comics. We love comics. We love people. That's
We
why.
love you.
Yeah. True facts.
Cool.
All right. Hell yeah. Good
All right.
job.
Yeah. Toodles.